Make room for a brand new year and a brand new room. Cozy up with HomeDepot.com for up to 30% off select mattresses and mattress essentials. From pillow top to plush, medium firm to memory foam. Waking up to a wonderful new mattress is the perfect way to make your new bed and your new year. Up to 30% off select mattresses and mattress essentials from HomeDepot.com. How doers get more done. Online only. Free delivery on select items $45 or more. Visit HomeDepot.com for more information.
It is 10 a.m. in the East, 7 a.m. in Las Vegas, and 8 a.m. in Costa Rica, home of SportsbookReview.com. I'm Joe Duffy of OffshoreInsiders.com. Welcome to the world-famous tailgate party, the Bettor's Tailgate Party, tracing its roots back to the 1980s on the score phones. Yeah, folks, I've been doing this one venue or another for a long, long time. Let's just say I had no gray hair for the first, 15 years I did this, 20 years maybe. Anyway, let's get to some news and notes for both the bettor and the fantasy football player for this Sunday, the OffshoreInsiders.com clipboard. The Rams and the Jaguars, of course, I like to sound sophisticated, so I will say the Jaguars. Jacksonville just 3-2 against the spread, yet a league-leading 13.8 against the spread margin. And again, some of you will recognize that as the so-called sweat barometer. Rams have gone over 4-1 by 9.3 points per game. And, here's where I just like to double check. There it is. It is going out live. So make sure if you do like the information you get here to literally like it on Facebook. And that will help us get some more exposure. Right now, I think we're going to focus on the NFL tailgate party on Sundays. The college tailgate party, I'm going to put on a brief hiatus till we can really build up the audience. But make sure you give us a like, and if you're watching the rebroadcast on YouTube, do that as well. Lions versus the Saints. This is a rare case of a home team with no wins versus a road team with no road losses. I should say a home team with no home wins and a road team with no home losses. When the home team is laying 3.5 or more, the home team is 10-6 for 62.5%. Now again, 16 games, not impressive, but our point is, I do say that, one of the biggest mistakes that actually pretty smart gamblers make, there's a long list of mistakes that square gamblers make, but even some fairly smart guys, we found that they, at times, really overanalyze the splits, and that is a big mistake. And look, I was one of those. I kind of had that theory, analyzing splits, but the fact is, when we get the sophisticated computer software, we can actually test these theories and find out what we thought was not necessarily true. Only the fifth time in history that a total 50 or more, when one team allowed 13 or fewer points the last two games combined, that would be the Saints. And it's gone over 4 or 5 with a 62.8 points per game scored. And again, another one of those where we use the odds makers. There you go, my sensory issues itching a little bit, this microphone, not perfectly placed. But anyway, our point is that you listen to what the odds makers are telling you. When there is a total or a line that seems to be a little bit out of line, maybe counterintuitive to recent performance or overall performance or the splits, as we just said, you usually go what the odds makers are saying, and you kind of fade or you kind of go with that counterintuitive information. So that counterintuitive information would say go with this game over. Saints with no turnovers this year, just the third time since 1933 that a team does not have any turnovers through 4 games. Yet the Lions have forced 11. Teams with 2 or fewer turnovers versus an opponent that's forced at least 10, just 6-14 against the spread. That would favor the Lions. But home teams with 1 or 0 turnovers in game 4 or later, 19-10. Saints wide receiver Willie Snead is questionable to make his debut. 141 catches in his first 2 NFL seasons. And for the Saints, left tackle Terrion Armstead may also make his season debut. Look, we're going to actually pass on that, as there's some good information on both games. But we will have a free pick for you. Don't worry, we will have a free pick for you as this tailgate party with Sportsbook Review and OffshoreInsiders.com goes on. Chicago and Baltimore totals less than 40 have gone under 4-1 this season. Joe Flacco's been sacked 6 times in his first 2 games, though off his first impressive game of the season. And look, that's Joe Flacco's recent history, to be perfectly honest with you. As soon as you start counting out Joe Flacco is when he starts playing his best. Ravens under Jim Harbaugh, an incredible 11-0 to rookie quarterbacks. Just 3 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Think about that. 3 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. That's almost unheard of. I did it again. I said Jim Harbaugh, didn't I? John Harbaugh. Let me just fix that typo so I don't do that again. Do a few media appearances, and I think I called him Jim Harbaugh, but you get the point. I think I called him Jim Harbaugh on another media appearance. But you know the point, of course, Chicago, Mitch Trubisky is starting on the road for the first time. The Bears have gone under 12-0 on the road as underdogs of 7 or more versus an opponent that had a better record the previous season. And Ravens wide receiver Jeremy Maclin considered a game-time decision. He's got 16 catches in 5 games. The Steelers and the Chiefs, KC, the only perfect spread team in the NFL, 5-0 by a 9.1 against the spread margin. Undefeated home teams with an against the spread streak of 5 or greater are only 5-13 of the number. That would say to fade Kansas City. Steelers are the only team to go under all 5 games this season, but it's not like they've been going under by a large margin. They've only been going under 5.7 points per game. So what that sweat barometer statistic would tell us is that it's quite deceptive that, maybe the Steelers aren't as much of an under team as, one might think. And of course, most observers would tell you that the Steelers' most disappointing offense, most underachieving offense in the league this year. Chiefs get a league-leading 6.6 yards per play. I've always said that's the single most important statistic. Really, when it comes to handicapping, it's yards per play, or yards per rush, yards per pass, and yards per play relative to what their opponent normally gets or what they normally allow. That's, depending on whether we're talking about offense or defense. Kansas City is going under 37-15 at home. The Bears and the Cardinals, Arizona with a league worst minus 10.1 against the spread margin, 0-5 against the spread. Arizona leads the league in offensive plays per game at 69.2. Again, handicapping totals is more about pace than it is offensive or defensive competence, so that is important. The only semi-weather concern, 15-mile-per-hour winds, and that's really sort of our, tipping point. Right, once it gets to 15 or above, it becomes significant, so barely significant as far as we're concerned. By the way, season high for Wise Guy plays at offshoreinsiders.com. And yes, thank you for those likes that you're giving us. It's a vote of confidence, and it helps us in the search engines, we are told by the experts. So if you do like us, please literally like us, whether it's here on Facebook, whether it's the YouTube rebroadcast. The Browns and the Texans top over team in the NFL by a margin of going over 13.1 points per game, though they've only gone over 3 of 5 on the year. So that's interesting. What it says is, when they go over, they go way over. When they go under, they don't go under much. Browns are 0-11 as underdogs versus an opponent averaging at least 30 rushes per game. Packers and the Vikings, this game, there's been a little bit of line movement. But Case Keenum will start for the Vikings. Vikings are 2-1 at home. The Packers are 1-1 on the road. Big road favorites, despite road splits. Going with the road team is 1-21-77, and that would favor Green Bay. So again, I talked about it earlier, that if the home team's home record is better than the road team's road record, but the home team is still an underdog, go with what the odds makers are telling you. And NBA starts in 2 days, right? NBA starts in 2 days. I'm telling you, we are going to make a fortune this year in the NBA. We do every year with that statistic at offshoreinsiders.com. So, because it crosses over in the NBA and the NFL, the two really have kind of the most balanced schedule. Baseball, we're talking about money lines, so, it's a little bit more difficult than college sports. You don't really quite get that balanced schedule, so it's a little tough to use splits there. But because this clearly crosses over two sports, I weigh it even a little more heavily because the theory makes perfect sense. Teams that overcame a 15-point or more deficit then hit the road, only 23-34 against the spread. That would benefit the Vikings. Now, in 18 games of the Vikings, look, Aaron Rodgers plays well against anybody, but he plays well against the Vikings too, very well. 68.2 completion percentage, 39 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Mike McCarthy, though, only 4-4 straight up to Mike Zimmer coached defenses. So, that would bode well for Minnesota. Maybe even some might say to bet them on the money line. Packers over 4-1 by a mere 0.2. Green Bay's going over 11 out of 12. The Packers are 13-0 as favorites off of a road game in which they trailed at the half. Now, that's against the spread. We'll tell you, if when we give a record, it's against the spread unless we otherwise note. Of course, we'll say straight up or over-under. Vikings, though, conversely, 14-0 against the spread off a game as favorites in which they converted at least 5 first downs. All in all, though, we're going to go with that powerful home road split. And our free pick is to go with Green Bay minus the 3. The Dolphins, and by the way, we talked about, shopping for the best line and whatnot. Well, again, you can get, of course, the best premium picks there at offshoreinsiders.com, and you know how much I love SBR odds. You just check, you can get the best line possible, and in fact should have the spread and totals. You can get the spread or the total, and you want to shop around for the best line. Now, juice is also extremely important. So you're laying, 3 minus 116 at BetOnline if you're betting our free pick. But if Pinnacle is available in your country, that is the best place to bet it. And just go to SBR odds or, Sportsbook. It'll forward you to the Sportsbook review page, but the shortcut, SBRodds.com, and you will never, ever get screwed by a line. And again, there is a huge difference between 2 cents juice and 15 cents juice, or, some of these sports books where you can get it in the and then there you go. You even see at Bovada, very good sports book where it's 3.5 goes off of that. So again, always shop around for the best lines, SBRodds.com. And as I've alluded to many times, they are fantastic when it comes to scores in progress. If you're not at a sports bar or, you're watching a bunch of games, probably don't have 19 TVs or, 10 TVs at home. If you're watching, you only can watch 1 or 2 games, follow those scores on SBR odds. Dolphins and the Falcons, Miami is going under 4-0 by minus 18 points per game. They've gone under by an average of 18 points per game, 18.5. Falcons second in the NFL at yards per play at 6.2. Miami, a worst in the NFL, 3.9 yards per play. Devontae Parker is now out for Miami for you fantasy football players. 19 receptions in 4 games off of 56 catches last year. And again, those sports books at Sportsbook Review, you can get those fantasy football type bets. All kinds of great proposition bets for every single game. And well, some games, if there's a question about the quarterback, maybe not so much. But visit those sports books at Sportsbook Review. If you are a fantasy football expert, you can and will make a ton of money. At offshoreinsiders.com, I really do the sides and totals. Don't mess with too many halftime lines or the props. We do that in the playoffs sometimes, especially the Super Bowl. But regular season, I'm just so busy picking the sides and totals. I don't do it too much, but if you're a fantasy football player, you can make a fortune with those sports books at Sportsbook Review. Chargers and the Raiders. Raiders with a league low, 54.6 snaps per game. So again, they don't play a fast pace. Looks like Derek Carr will play, the franchise quarterback. 49ers and the Redskins, Eric Reed is questionable. For Monday Night Football, Titans franchise quarterback Marcus Mariota remains questionable. And when I check, I am sure that is still off of the board. Let's just check that at SBR odds. All right. Well, we would actually have to click on the NFL icon because that's just today's games. I think it has. Well, there you go. There's maybe one sports book. BetOnline where they have a lower limit, but the game is essentially off of the board. But and that's going to happen. Marcus Mariota, he is questionable. Top consensus plays: Green Bay and Denver. Once again, Green Bay and Denver, your top consensus plays. Join me at offshoreinsiders.com. Boy, do we have a humongous day at offshoreinsiders.com. Joe Duffy's picks, 78 and 47 with all football bets, 62.4% winners, and we're very excited about NBA being here. Season high 4 Wise Guy plays led by the Sunday Night Football Game of the Year, the NFL Game of the Week, NFL Total of the Week. They're all up. We have an NFL Major as well. So what a year. Better than 62% since the preseason. It's not too bad, folks. Actually, it's pretty damn good. So make sure you do join us at offshoreinsiders.com. Well, like I said, I think for now, we're going to focus on the NFL Tailgate Party at Sportsbook Review Facebook page. We'll be here next Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And if we can really build up the following here, and you can help us by liking us. But if we can build up the following, as far as that's concerned, we'll certainly bring back the Saturday tailgate as well. But make sure you join me at offshoreinsiders.com, and we'll talk, hopefully I'll do some more videos this week on Sportsbook Review's YouTube page. And make sure you visit me at offshoreinsiders.com, and also Offshore Insider on Twitter. I'm limited by the characters, so on Twitter there's no S at the end, but of course there is an S on the end with our URL, offshoreinsiders.com. And make sure you visit SBR Odds for all the latest odds. Don't get screwed by a line move, and once the games get underway, for those scores in progress.
Pros bring something extra to every job. Now at the Home Depot, they also get something extra. Pro Extra, our free loyalty program built for pros just like you. Members earn perks with every dollar spent, like Pro Extra Dollars, a tool rental credit, and more. New members get $20 off their next in-store purchase of $200 or more just for signing up. Learn more at homedepot.com/Pro Extra. New year, more rewards, Pro Extra, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.